to another live stream. Back to another live stream. Back
100 times?
to another live stream.
200 times?
Back
500 times?
Probably.
Who is Jose Arteaga?
Jose Arteaga is a YouTube content creator with several channels focusing on different themes.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Thing sucks.
His main channels include travel vlogs and lifestyle content. On his travel channel, Jose Arteaga Travels.
You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers.
Additionally, he runs a cooking channel and engages in other personal projects that highlight his diverse interests and expertise. Projects and expertise. Projects and expertise. Projects, project, 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 projects, expertise.
I am officially running for President of the United States. We need a leader. I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. It can be wonderful if you have smart people, but we have people that are stupid. The American dream is dead. But if I get elected president, I will bring it back bigger and better and stronger than ever before. The American dream. And we will make America great again. And we will make America great again. And we will make America great again. We will make America great again. And we will make America great again. We will make America great again.
Aren't you guys rich already? Aren't you guys gazillionaires? I was promised to be rich. What happened? Mr. Trump promised.
Rules better than me, believe
He promised me I was gonna be rich, man. I'm still poor.
bigger and better and stronger than ever before, and we will make America great again. Thank you very much. And we will make America great again. We will make America great again. And we will make America great again. And we will make
Senor Bill on the saxophone.
America, great again.
That's right.
America, great again. America, great again. America, great again.
That's right. That's right. Isn't America great yet? I thought America was always great.
Great
Man, I'm
again.
confused. Anyway. Hope you guys are ready to rock and roll. Shout out to Jesse with a $10 super chat. You know, starting it off with a bang. That's right. So shout out to everyone out there. Muchas gracias for joining me today, and welcome back. Just wanted to give a shout out to Jesse. Thank you so much. Let's starting off strong here. Muchas gracias. Muchas appreciated. Thank you very muchi. So, I mean, today we're going to be talking about, well, the economy. All right, we're going to be talking about, you know, the fact that, hey, we were promised a recession. I mean, I don't know about you. Well, I guess it depends on who you're asking, right? Again, you know, Trump promised us, you know, the best economy ever, and on paper, right? On paper, it seems like we got the best economy ever, right? Right? But in real life, you know, from my understanding, I don't know, I don't live there anymore, but from my understanding, it seems like, well, you know, things are not going so good. It seems like the recession is alive and well. In fact, many of you guys might even say there's a depression going on. I'm one of those guys, you know, even before I left the USA. I left the USA and moved to Mexico over 7.5 years ago. I could have moved anywhere, it didn't matter. But regardless, I knew back then when I left that the economy was in shambles, the country was in shambles, things were only going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. And well, sure enough, here we are. Again, you know, back when I was living in the USA, you know, I already felt like we were in a recession, in a depression that we've never fully recovered from. And again, you know, we were just kept being fed lies over and over and over again that the economy's doing great. You're just not working hard enough. You're just not putting enough effort. You know, must be something wrong that you're doing, because I don't understand. It seems like the economy's doing great. And that's kind of like the rhetoric that we've been fed for years, you know, decades now at this point. But at this point, you know, where we're at right now in 2025, well, you know, we're ending 2025. How kind of crazy is that, right? That we're in the future. We're 1/4 of the way through the century. Again, think about that for a minute, okay? We're 1/4 of the way through the whole century, okay? So 2025, we're about to hit 2026, and I think most of us already are fully aware that the economy is anything but good. When you look at the stock market, when you look at, you know, other indicators that the government provides, it seems like the economy is doing great. You know, unemployment is down, the economy is doing amazing on paper, you know, and so on and so forth. But and there's no inflation according to the government, and so on and so forth. But the reality is that you guys know every time that you go to the grocery store, you buy less and less. Your rent is going higher. All your bills keep increasing, you know, more and more expensive, and you're not making any more money. In fact, some of you guys are probably making less money, and probably making, you're probably just praying to God that you can still hold on to the job that you have right now. You know, because the way things are going, you know, from my understanding, it seems like people are, you know, starting to get laid off, get fired, and things are really starting to, you know, get, you know, worse. You know, not any better, but just worse. So, you know, what's going on? You know, why is it, you know, that, you know, on paper, or, you know, as what the government tells us is one thing, but the reality that most of us live is another thing. So what's going on with all of that? And so, you know, what made things even worse? Well, you know, some of you guys already know what made things extremely worse was when when COVID happened. After COVID happened, well, you already know they turned on the printing presses. They, you know, they started to print a lot of money, you know, to give out stimulus checks and to give out loans, you know, the business loans, and to do all that kind of stuff. And now we've been paying for it ever since then. Again, that was just one of the things that was done. Obviously we send a lot of money to foreign countries. The USA, instead of spending it on infrastructure and spending it in the country, to better the lives of the people, they spend it on other things, like, I don't know, paying interest on their own loan, trying to keep the military afloat, and so on and so forth. But by the way, I want to ask you guys a question, because I don't know this. I don't know the answer to this. I should have researched it before I went live. But is the government still shut down? Because from my understanding, like, I think the government's still shut down, and it's been shut down for what, like a week now or something. And I think for most of people out there, you guys are, have realized that what does the government actually even do? You know what I mean? If the government's not even functioning yet, what's going on with all that? You know what I mean? Why is it that we got to spend so much money on taxes and spend so much money on the government, and have the government have all this tyrannical uh a tyrannical power over us, the citizens? Why do we allow that? What do the US citizens allow that? Again, and what is the government good for? So right now, as you guys are seeing, as the government is okay, you guys are confirming that the government is still shut down. So again, what is different in your life, now that the government's shut down? You know what I mean? Honestly. So that's kind of like, thing. Again, when we had, Senor Biden. By the way, as you guys already know, if you don't know, I am apolitical. Okay, I'm not on any political side. I don't really care. I think they're all the same. But again, when Biden was president, you guys already know we went 4 years without a president. 4 years with, weekend at Bernie's. We just had like a mummy there. I don't know if you guys have seen some of those videos where you see where they show President Biden walking, and then they show one of those robots, from MIT, and they're walking exactly the same. Anyways, don't get me started on that. But long story short, what how is this really, how is the government being shut down affecting your life at all? You know what I mean? It seems, if anything, it's probably just affecting your life in a positive way, not necessarily in a negative way. So Memo says, you cannot travel in peace, the TSA people without pay. Well, I mean, if the TSA people are without pay, are there even any TSA agents out there? I know the military gets paid, no matter what, goes on. So, but whatever. That's not the point, of today's episode here. So what we're talking about is the fact that, they promised us, you know what I mean? The government promised us that we would have, a better economy, that we would be making more money. We would have more money to spend. They would make America great again. All right. But it seems like, we couldn't be any further from that. We couldn't be any, we're very far away from that. We're nowhere even remotely close, to making America great again.
Bruh.
In fact, I could, but for most of you guys out there, you guys are pretty aware that America is, doing worse and worse each and every second of the day. But going to the economy, at the end of the day, look, let's just be 100%, okay? The reality is that, yes, you know what I mean? You can, become rich during these times, believe it or not, okay? You can actually do well during these times, believe it or not. You do not have to sit there and suffer. You do not have to sit there and continually take it, all right? Or, sit there while they continually take it from you. You can actually do something to better your life. So, for example, one of the steps that you could take is move out of your country. If things are not going well for you where you're at, well, perhaps move to another country. Another thing, but more importantly is, talking about, how you're going to, how you're going to hedge against inflation. How are you going to, protect yourself, against, this inflation that's only going to get worse. And again, the increased cost of living, no matter where you are. Okay. Because look, on my other channel, I literally interviewed somebody, a good friend of mine, Ryan, and he's also an American, but he's living in Paraguay. I'm living in Mexico. And even where we're living, in areas around Mexico and areas around, South America, Asia, so on and so forth, inflation is also hitting those areas and things are getting expensive there. Again, you can still live, comfortably. You can still have a higher quality of life living elsewhere. But this whole inflation thing, this whole thing is basically affecting the whole world. And what's going on? Well, again, for some of you guys, you don't know, some of you guys do know, but simply put, how does the system work? How does a U.S. debt system work? How does a U.S. monetary system work? Again, there is an entity out there, okay, called the Federal Reserve, okay? And there's nothing federal about it. It is a private company, a private bank. And that private bank lends out money to the U.S. government, okay? So all the money that they print out of thin air to basically fund the government, because that is how they fund the government. I mean, that's literally, in fact, let me see. I gotta find the video, man. I should have done a little more research. Let me see. Oh, hello. Hello, hello. Can you hear me now? Yeah, I don't know what happened. That was weird. That was super weird. I don't even know where I left off. Where did I leave off? I wonder what caused. Yeah, my microphone got disconnected. That was very weird. I apologize about that. Huh. Yeah, I don't even know where I left off. Can anyone know? Maybe tell me where I left off before I got disconnected there. Sorry about that. All right, hold on. Anyways, sorry. My apologies about that. So, yeah, they're shutting me down. I mean, they're literally, I got little lemmings out here, disconnecting my microphone. All right, so can you hear me now? Anyways, so look, long story short, basically Jerome Powell, okay, that's in charge of the Federal Reserve, they ask him, all right, the federal government, okay, ask for money, all right, to fund the government, to fund, the military, to fund everything. And so basically the Federal Reserve just types it into a computer and then lends out that money digitally to the U.S. government. Okay, and we owe money. The U.S. government owes money and interest to a private entity and a private bank. And this is already pretty well known at this point. So, the question is like, well, how can you protect yourself? What can you do in order to get away from all that, And so, there's many things that you can do. Again, right now, as I was telling you earlier, they were promising us, okay, an amazing economy. But for most of you guys out there, the majority of you guys out there living in this amazing economy, you guys know there's nothing amazing about it. You're barely making it paycheck to paycheck. Everything is just more and more expensive. You're making less and less money. But yet what's going on? What is making everything so expensive? Well, the more money they print, well, the more everything becomes expensive. But if everything's becoming expensive, then what can you do, to, again, protect yourself, hedge against inflation? What can you do to protect yourself against this inflation? Basically, how can you protect yourself from, so let me explain. Okay, so really what inflation is, all right, just to give you an example. So what inflation is that this is a dollar, okay? And the more inflation there is, okay, the less value this has. So the less value this dollar has, the more dollars you need to purchase the same thing. That's it. That's all it is. So long story short, the more inflation you have, okay, that means that the less valuable these are. So as inflation increases, meaning every time that they print money, your dollars, your money, the money that you get every paycheck, the money that you're always getting is worth less and less and less and less. So right now, again, 100 years ago, a dollar was worth $1. But in today's world, a dollar is only worth this tiny little bit right there. That's what your dollar is actually worth. So every dollar you're actually getting, instead of getting this full dollar, you're actually getting like this tiny little piece. You can barely see it. Okay? So just to give you an example. So what can you do with your tiny little pieces of dollars, because that's all you're getting these days, right? In order to protect yourself? Well, what if you can, again, I understand it's very difficult, if you don't have many dollars, but that's where people are doing things like investing in the stock market, investing in things like Bitcoin, and buying things. Again, if you want to go super old school, you go on ahead and you buy yourself, gold and silver, gold and silver. There's a silver coin, Mexican silver. So I bought this silver coin, okay, a long time ago. Again, I've been in Mexico a while now. But anyways, I bought this years ago, and I bought this for around $25 US, and today it is worth $50 US. So for example, if I would have kept that $25 US in my pocket for 5 years, okay, that same $25 would have been worth, I don't know, like $15 today. All right. But what I did was that I bought myself a silver coin with that $25, or you can do gold. And as the dollar loses value and everything becomes expensive, well, so does this. So does everything else. Again, that's why your house is worth, millions of dollars these days, and so on and so forth, all right? It's because of the inflation. And so obviously, as more inflation hits, well, everything gets more expensive, including, like, for example, your home. Some of you guys have a home and you bought it for extremely cheap, and you're holding on to that home and you're very happy that it's extremely expensive now, until you got to pay your property taxes. And then when you pay your property taxes, then you're like, oh, I can't afford this, no more. All right. So that's the thing, so that's a reality of it. There's ways that you can do that. So when you look at things like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, that is a way in which people can enter, this casino, this digital casino that normally wouldn't be able to. Because for a lot of people, depending on your wealth, depending on how much you have, depending on what you have access to. Some of you guys, have a few bucks in your pocket, a few bucks in the bank or whatever. So you guys can go on ahead and maybe open up a Fidelity account, I don't know, and start trading stocks, on E-Trade or whatever's out there, Schwab, whatever, right? And think about it. Here, let me put a graphic up. So you guys can see exactly what I mean. All right, so okay, so there's the graph, okay, the Dow Jones. That's just today, all right? But look, let's just go back 5 years and look at that. Look at that. Let's just go max, all right? I don't know what the max is, but look at that. So you see, you put your, so that graph that you see there, that could also easily be the amount of money they're printing. Okay, literally the M2 money supply, whatever the hell. Anyway, so that's literally the money they're printing. So as they print money, well, a lot of that money goes into the stock market. Okay, it goes into the stock market. What's the word I'm looking for? Whatever. Anyways, but it goes into the stock market, and so therefore it elevates the price of that. So, for example, you want to hedge yourself against inflation, and you got savings. Instead of putting that money in the bank, again, if you put money in your Bank of America savings account, they're charging you money to keep it in there. But if you put your money in a 401k, if you put it into stocks, if you put it into something like this, well, it's always going to keep going up and up and up and up. All right. Same thing is like if you do gold or silver. Let's look at again the price of gold or silver. Look at gold, for example. That gold's graph. Come on, man, just gold graph. All right, let's look at that. Okay, this is in one day, but look at the last 5 years. Look at that. Look where gold has gone up. Okay, same as silver. Okay, same as other commodities out there and certain things out there. Okay, because again, as everything is going up, well, there are certain things that you can hold on to. All right, to again protect yourself against inflation. So once this bubble pops, you're good to go. Because again, once that bubble pops, you'll have things of value that you can trade for those dollars. Like, for example, back during the Great Depression, when everybody lost everything in the stock market, a lot of people didn't have anything left to their name. And so, but a lot of smart people, they had gold and silver coins because, it was, people had the knowledge back then, of these important commodities. And so long story short, they would go on ahead and buy a whole house for a few silver coins or a few gold coins. They'll buy a brand new Rolls Royce, for a brand new, for just a few coins and stuff like that when the economy tanked. So eventually, once the economy tanks, once everything, once this charade, once this thing falls, because it will fall, at some point, well, then you're going to be holding on to assets that you can liquidate, okay, for whatever new currency is going to come about. Because the thing is that, every certain amount of years, we have a new currency, a new world reserve currency, whatever it is. And I don't think that, I've talked about this for years now, I don't think that the US dollar is going anywhere. In fact, with a few months ago, during the whole Epstein fiasco, Trump and the people in power, they passed the Genius Act. And in the Genius Act, what they're going to start doing now is that they're going to start, pairing the US dollar, to these stable coins. Okay, anyone that knows about crypto a little bit, and they're going to start now, linking it to that. So again, what gave the US dollar value, power back in the day? Well, back in the day, each US dollar, okay, or each $20 bill, okay, was interchangeable with a gold or silver coin. So the dollar, the currency, was always pegged to the price of gold. Okay, so these are just IOUs. These are just paper receipts, because you're not going to be carrying around gold and silver coins. Okay, especially gold, right? So you keep your gold in the bank. They give you these IOUs, and then everybody knows that these are, valuable, because again, this is how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to, if at any time you're supposed to, if you have these pieces of paper, you can just take them to the bank and they give you gold or silver. But again, in today's world, go to the bank with some money, all right, and ask for some gold and silver, and you're going to see how quickly you're going to be escorted out of there, and you'll be lucky that you don't get arrested. All right. So, and again, just simply because you're crazy. What do you mean? We don't sell gold. We don't have gold or silver here. We just got fake money. We just got paper money. But anyways, back in the 70s, when Nixon was president, we had an economic crisis. Again, I'm not going to go into super details. You guys can go and do your own research. But basically, a bunch of countries started asking for their gold back, all right? And so as the USA had to give gold back to all these countries that were asking it, back from, the gold reserves in the USA basically fell, all right, to almost nothing. And so then all of a sudden we kidnapped back our dollar by gold. In fact, we were very close to losing world reserve status, world reserve currency status back in the 70s. So Nixon said, you know what we're going to do? We're not going to give anyone gold anymore. Okay, that's it. What we're going to do is that we're going to depeg. We're going to take, we're not going to connect the price of gold to the dollar anymore. In fact, now the dollar is just going to be based on debt. It's just going to be worth nothing. Meaning, again, that's not how he said it, because otherwise people would be up in arms. But basically said that now, instead of the dollar, instead of the currency being backed by gold, we're going to now back it by debt. We're just going to back it by the good faith of the USA government. So basically, they created a fiat currency. Okay, why do we have a name for that? Well, because it's not the first time in human history something like this happened. So anyways, since that point on, the US government has been printing US dollars, just paper, and backing it by nothing. Now, of course, we back it by something, but it's not by gold or silver. The US dollar is backed by the US military. Meaning, if you don't use the US dollar, then we're going to go on ahead and, spread democracy in your country. So you better use that US dollar, all right? And so that's where we've been for about 50 years now, where we've been on fiat currency. But in the last 20 years, but I want to say since 2007-8, what we've been doing is we've been printing these into oblivion. All right, we've been printing these dollars into oblivion. Thus, they lose their value. So long story short, these things are pieces of paper that are backed by nothing, just faith. All right, and whatchamacallit, and so right now they're printing even more and more of these every single second of the day, thus making these even worth less and less every single second of the day. Again, as you guys can see that chart there, the more parabolic up, the more it keeps going up, the quicker this is losing value. All right, this dollar. Again, this chart is only going back 5 years, but you can really see when it really started going parabolic right there, February of 2024. I mean, we can go back further. You're going to see how crazy this gets. I can't go further. All right, 10 years. But yeah, anyways, but you see, all right, we'll just go 5 years. All right, whatever. Anyways, the point is that in the last couple of years, look how much it's lost value. All right. And so now what Trump has done with the Genius Act, the freaking genius, right, is that he said, okay, what we're going to start doing now is that we're going to back these dollars with something. We're not going to back them with gold or silver. Come on, we're not crazy. We're going to go on ahead and back it. Okay, we're going to back this with a stable coin. And you're like, what the fuck is a stable coin? What the fuck do you mean? So some people that are in crypto, you know exactly what a stable coin is. If you're not in crypto, you have no idea what a stable coin is. But what a stable coin is that, for example, let's say you're trading Bitcoin. Okay, let's say you bought Bitcoin and you want to cash out Bitcoin. Okay, just like you're in the casino. You're in the casino. You're not really paying with dollars. You're paying with the casino tokens. So you go to a casino. This Bitcoin, same thing. Casino and Bitcoin are the same thing in a sense. Same as a stock market, but whatever. We're just trying to keep it simple here to explain. So when you go to a casino or when you buy Bitcoin, all right, what you do is that you go into the casino and you trade your dollars for stable coins. Or again, if you're going to the casino, you get the chips, the casino chips. All right. And so with those casino chips, you can go on ahead and gamble. Okay. Once you win, okay, or lose, but let's just say that you win, okay, with your gambling, then that $100 that you spent, okay, to get 100 chips, now you got 1,000 chips, and you want to trade those chips for dollars. Well, then you get your chips and you go to the teller at the casino, and the casino will trade those chips for dollars. And that's how you turn 100 into 1,000 at the casino. Same thing with Bitcoin. So with Bitcoin, it's the same. By the way, same thing with stocks. Okay, only this is the stable coin. Okay, but again, I don't want to over confuse you guys. But anyways, when you're purchasing Bitcoin, it's the same thing. You'll get like a stable coin. Okay, a Tether or whatever, any stable coin. There's a bunch of stable coins out there. You get those stable coins, okay, and then you buy Bitcoin, okay, and then you make money on Bitcoin, and then you cash out that money. Let's say you made $1,000, so you get $1,000, 1,000 Tether tokens, okay? And in each token is supposed to be worth $1. Just like when you go to a casino, okay, and the casino token, all right, let's pretend this is a casino token. The casino token is backed by $1. So for each token, there's $1. So in crypto, same thing. When you're purchasing crypto, each dollar is a tether token. Okay, let's switch colors here. So this is the tether. Okay, and so again, this is backed by nothing, just the faith of the casino. All right. So what happens is that, like with the Genius Act, what they want to do is that they now want to go on ahead, and this dollar that's backed by nothing, and this casino chip, okay, aka the stable coin that is also backed by nothing. Actually, the stable coin is backed by the dollar. So again, this coin is backed by the dollar. The dollar is backed by nothing. So now with the Genius Act, what they're going to do is that this dollar is backed by nothing is now going to be backed by this. But you're like, well, wait a minute. But I thought this was backed by the dollar. Yeah, exactly. That's why it's the Genius Act. You're not smart. Again, let's see, where's that where Trump says he loves stupid people or whatever it is.
It can be wonderful if you have smart people, but we have people that are stupid.
So anyways, so long story short, so that's what's going on. So right now, what really needs to be done is that the dollar needs to be reevaluated. Really, the dollar needs to be backed by gold, thus increasing the price of gold, and thus bringing the debt down, and thus reevaluating the dollar. Okay, this is a simpleton terms there. But what's really going on is that now these tokens, these casino tokens that are backed by $1, well, now these casino tokens are the ones that are going to be backing the dollar. Like, what the fuck? What the hell? So that's what they're doing. That's what's going on. And so that's all part of the digital currency. Okay? Remember the digital, remember we're moving into, everyone on digital currency. Remember that? The digital ID, the digital, everything, the digital prison. So that's how they're going to turn all of these dollars into digital money. First of all, these dollars are already digital money because most of you guys don't even use these things. Most of you guys pay everything through your credit card, through your debit card, through your phone, through your whatever. And think about it. Let's say that you use Apple Pay. What the fuck do you think Apple Pay is? Apple Pay is the same thing. When you deposit $100 into your Apple Pay, Apple creates Apple coins, and that is Apple Pay. And then those Apple coins, okay, when you're going to make a purchase at Target or at Walmart, okay, then immediately those Apple coins are turned into dollars. Because, Target doesn't want Apple coins. Well, I mean, they might. I mean, who knows? Whatever. But you know what I'm saying. So I've been talking about this for years, that we were going to get to that point where everyone is going to have their own coin. Which a lot of them do already. All right. Meaning that you can have, Starbucks money. Right? You can have, the old school point system was with the airlines. Remember that? But anyways, all these entities are going to have money. So for example, you might go to Walmart, or you might do a job in the future. You might do something in the future. You might get paid in Walmart coin. You might get paid in Bitcoin. You might get paid in Tether, the dollar equivalent to this. You might get paid in dollars, but they're all going to be digital. Okay, and they're all going to be interchangeable with each other, and they're all going to have different values, just like currencies do right now, like the Mexican peso to the euro, to the US dollar, to the Canadian dollar, to the Chinese yuan. They all have different values, but you can interchange one for the other. But we still got paper. So they're trying to eliminate the paper and just go straight digital. And this is how they're doing that. And so this is like the first time that, us humans in human recorded history, again, we don't know. They might have had computers 500 years ago. That's another story for another day. But the point is that as of now, from our recorded history, all we know of is that this is the first time in which we're using computers and digital, okay, the whole digital interface in order to do money. All right. And so long story short, most money around the world is already digital. but now they're going to make it even more digital. And so what happens is during these cycles, these currency cycles in which, let's say the US dollar is the world reserve currency. Before this, it was the British pound. Before that, it was the Spanish peso, and so on and so forth. So there's always a world reserve currency, okay, in play. But usually what happens is that once the empire falls, once they print that currency to death, once they go fiat, once they do all that, well, it falls. And then a new currency rises because, again, all people lose faith, all right, around the world. They go back to gold and silver, all right, and they need to come up with a new system, paper money system. And so then a new currency comes into play. But now, since it's all digital, and this, this thing's already basically expired. These dollars are already expired. Expired coupons already, basically. They're about to expire now. What a lot of people are now doing. What the governments are now doing is that instead of backing this with gold and creating a new currency, because that's what happens. Again, all they got to do right now in order to save the dollar, in order to save the USA, is back the dollar by gold or silver, which will create a brand new currency, a brand new dollar, okay? And that brand new dollar will be the currency going forward. But they're not doing that. What they're actually doing is making it digital. If you go back and look at even older dollars, like the dollars, back when Kennedy was shot, one of the reasons they shot Kennedy is because he was trying to link, okay, the dollar to silver, get away from gold and just link it straight to silver. Okay. In fact, they had the money. You see where it's green right there? This used to be blue. All right. But this is just basically worthless pieces of paper. You can't even wipe your ass with this. Have you tried to wipe your ass with this? It's not fun. It's not comfortable. All right. So it's already happening. It's not that it's not when it's going to happen. It's not if it's going to happen. It's already happening. We're in the middle of it right now. So the best way to save yourself, okay, like I said, first of all, you can participate in the system. If you're poor like me, you can buy cryptocurrency. You can download an app like Robinhood or whatever other apps are out there. I don't know because I don't do stocks. And you can buy stocks. And again, it's really simple. Again, you don't have to go far. You can just invest in the QQQ or invest in the Dow Jones or invest in whatever. Just one of these big funds that, again, as you guys saw from the chart that I showed you here, it's just going into infinity and beyond. All right. Here, 1 second. So you guys can see there. All right. So you can see it just keeps going up and up and up. Even if there's a dip, it keeps going up. Because, again, what makes the stock market go up? Again, the devaluation. Because remember, stocks are more expensive, just like your food is more expensive, just like a plane ticket's more expensive, just like gasoline's more expensive. Just like everything. Gold, silver, everything's more expensive. Because, again, the more money they print, okay, the more worthless these dollars are. So you need more of these worthless dollars because nobody wants them to purchase the same thing. So that's why it keeps going up and up and up in price. So what you should do, to just get, if you have these dollars, all right, instead of just holding dollars, okay, that are going to be costing you money, you're losing money by holding these dollars. You can trade them in for things. Again, this is playing the casino. Whether you're playing with cryptocurrency or you're playing with the stock market, it's a casino. Again, the betting, the casino betting with the least amount of risk is buying gold and silver. Okay, so the least amount of risk is to get yourself gold and silver coins. Okay, physical. Okay, physical. All right, so this is the least risk involved. Okay, gold and silver. Okay, and then as you go into digital world, you got more risk. Again, higher risk, higher reward. Lower risk, lower reward. Okay, but this is just safe. You already know that you hold on to these, your money, your wealth is going to be safe. Okay, so it's going to keep increasing. Okay, because again, like at the end of the day, think about it. Look, again, going back to what I said. Okay, I spent $25 to purchase this 3-4 years ago. Okay, and now it's worth $50. So think about it. If I would have kept that $25 in my pocket, was I going to be able to purchase more with that $25? No, you know that you can't. Okay? In the last like 3 or 4 years, everything has gone up in price. So again, 3-4 years ago, okay, 3-4 years ago, with $25, I would have been able to, buy McDonald's for me and the family. But now, with $25, I can only afford McDonald's for myself. But if I were to have a silver coin, okay, now that $25 is worth $50. So I can go on ahead, trade in my silver coin. I got $50, and now I can buy McDonald's for the whole family. Makes sense? Now you see how this works, how gold and silver work. Okay, how other things where where you're purchasing a house or you're purchasing some of these harder assets. Now the thing is that I got gold and silver in my pocket right here physically. Do I got to pay money to keep this? No. Meaning like if you have a house in the USA and your house, when you purchased the house, might have been $100,000 or $50,000, and now that house is worth $1 million. Well, guess what? Your property taxes have increased, okay? And you got to pay a lot of property taxes to keep that house. Even though the price on that house keeps increasing, and technically you're making money, right, on paper, but you actually got to pay property taxes to keep that. And so same thing so the thing is that when you got gold and silver and you're holding it, I'm not paying anybody to hold this for me. So I'm not spending any money on that, okay? If I buy if I buy stocks, okay, and I'm trading stocks, or the same thing with cryptocurrency or whatever. Well, guess what? There's fees involved. Okay, you got to pay taxes on that, and so on and so forth. All right. So this is why always gold and silver are the best, but it's not for everybody. I totally understand. But the thing is that you can do things, okay, to protect yourself, okay, against all this inflation. Again, guys, remember, I came out to Mexico 7+ years ago, and I came out here with basically nothing. And yet, today, I have more than I've ever had. All right? Yet, I'm making less than I've ever made. But why is that? Well, again, it's because I'm living in a country in which my dollar, my currency, my hard work goes a lot further. Okay? On top of that, I have learned throughout the years to do things like purchase gold and silver, okay? Or Bitcoin, or stocks, or whatever it is, and hedge my bets, okay? Because really what you're doing is that when you're buying gold and silver, when you're buying stocks in a sense right now, okay, or Bitcoin or whatever, what you're doing is that you're betting against the debt. You're betting against, what's going on right now. If you don't like what's going on right now, well, then there's a way to bet against that. It's very simple. It's not that difficult. And so the thing is, obviously it takes education. It takes a lot of work, and you got to educate yourself on all this, and figure out what's best for you and how to do it. And it takes years. But long story short, you have to learn how to do this. This is just basic knowledge that we should have been taught in school. Okay, instead of learning all the bullshit that we learn in school, these are the things that we needed to learn in school. But the reason they didn't teach us these things in school is to keep us stupid so that they can continue doing what they're doing. Because if everybody knew this and everybody knew how to protect themselves and everybody knew how the system worked, well, then people would not participate in the system, and people would not keep their money in the bank, and people would not trust, the system. And then before you know it, the system collapses. All right. So. And yes, correct. I've also been surviving on tacos, correct. Tacos are really good for you. But look, long story short, there's ways in which you can hedge yourself and protect yourself. Because again, many, many years ago, like I said, I bought this silver coin, all right? And I bought many silver coins, okay? Even cheaper than $25. But throughout the years, I've been selling those coins, and I've been buying more, but this is how I protect myself. I don't keep this dirty fiat currency. I don't keep dirty money, okay? I don't keep this stuff, okay? Why? Because it loses value. The reason I have $1 is really, I just got this in my wallet. I don't have any US dollars. I remember I live in Mexico. I got pesos, right? This is what we have out here. This is the equivalent of $1 in Mexico, okay? Just FYI, but look at the 20-1. All right, but anyways, long story short, what I mean is that I don't keep this dirty fiat or this dirty fiat. I put it in other things, okay? Because I know for a fact that these are just always losing value no matter what, okay? So I put it in other things, and then, that's my savings, you know what I mean? And eventually, whenever I got to cash out, I cash out. It's usually, okay, I have more money, okay? My savings, increase slowly but surely, okay? As opposed to if I would have just kept them in dollars or pesos or whatever, and that just keeps losing and losing value every single day. So why was I always poor back in the USA? Well, because I didn't know that there was other ways in which you can save money or other things out there. I thought it was just this. But the reality is that it couldn't be any further from the truth, all right? So here, let me see if we can, hold on a second. Oh. And so that's the thing, you know, there's a lot involved in, all right, hold on a second. Because I got a little something for you guys so you guys can see. Ba-ba-dum-ba-dum. All right, here we go.
What do you do with the Bitcoin besides it just gather value?
Real estate developers in New York City, they're not buying the real estate because they want to live in it.
But like most of the people who are buying assets at some point want to sell the assets at a profit.
People that use fiat currency as a store of value, we call them poor. We call them poor. People that use fiat currency, we call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. There's a name for them. We call them poor. We call them poor. Okay?
Right, like, the point is, if you have the superior asset, it's going up forever more. Forever.
Right, I mean, right, but I mean, we can all look Bitcoin sort of as
forever more.
People that use fiat currency as a store of value, we call them poor. We call them poor. People that use fiat currency, we call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. There's a name for them. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor.
So that's it, guys.
We
You
call
follow?
them poor.
That's the thing, is that these things don't have any value. And people ask me, you know, right now someone was asking me, Jesse says, how do I trade my silver? To who? So in the USA, there's not many places to trade these things. There are certain states, you know, like let's say Utah, Florida, they're not stupid. They know exactly what this is worth, all right, gold and silver, and you can easily find many places to trade them and purchase them and sell them. Whether I don't recommend going to pawn shops, but they got places like coin shops, and they got, you know, places that are, you know, you got to find them, but they're depending on the state, depending on where you're at, will depend on where you can get these or not, okay? But I mean, again, pawn shops are also a great spot. But again, you got to educate yourself on this. So you know, you're buying these things on spot. I am not buying, you know, I'm not purchasing silver over spot. You know, I'm not paying more than what I know I need to pay for this. All right. But anyways, long story short, that's how it works. Okay. In the USA and other countries similar to the USA when it comes to banking. Okay. They're not going to sell you this at the bank. But in a country that is, you know, very sovereign, okay, when it comes to, you know, how they handle currency and how they handle money with their citizens, such as Mexico, well then, guess where I bought my coin? Again, this is a Mexican, I don't know if you guys can see it there, maybe not. See, look at that. That is a Mexican libertad, okay? So this is like a standing liberty, okay, in the USA. And you know where I purchased this, where I bought this? At the bank, okay? That's where you purchase gold and silver here in Mexico. Oh, what did I do there with the... So out of focus. There we go. Anyways, so that, okay, that is where I purchase my gold and silver. Again, I can purchase this, you know, I've shown you guys in some videos at dealers and so on and so forth. So when I cash out, I just go to whoever's going to give me the best rate. I can go to a private dealer. Okay, I can go to the bank. I can go, there's certain places, but there's more options, to trade these things. And on top of that, again, there's a whole population, a whole country that knows the value of gold and silver. Okay. So when you have like a whole population that not just knows the value of gold and silver, but everything that I just said to you right now, most Mexicans know. Even the lowest educated, taxi driver, they know about these things. But yet that most highly educated person in the USA doesn't know jack shit about any of this stuff, all right? So, but anyways, out here, the people are taught, from a very young age, whether they're taught at home or whether they're taught throughout the years, throughout school and all this other stuff, what the real value of money and currency is. Again, this is money. Silver and gold are money. This is not money. This is a currency, fiat currency, okay, to be exact. But this is just currency. It's a big difference. And a lot of people think this is money. This is not money. This is just currency. It's a piece of paper. Okay? This is money. Okay, gold and silver are money. They're also currency, but they're really money. All right, just to give you an idea. All right, so depending on where you're at will depend on how easily it is going to be to exchange these things. Now, again, in a country like the USA, again, they've made it extremely difficult over the years to the point where, it's almost eliminated in many parts of the country where you can get gold and silver or even trade them. But if you go to a place like Utah or Florida, over there, here, I'll show you exactly what they do over there. Over there, like, they already know what's coming. So over there, they got things like this. They got things like the gold back. All right, here, let me show you 1 second. Look at this. Look at that gold money. Now, again, I feel like these guys have gone a little bit, they took it to the extreme here, where they literally made money out of gold. Okay, so these are, all those pieces of paper, that right there is gold. That's pure gold. Okay, so it doesn't even matter what happens. Those pieces of gold money are always going to be increasing in price. But again, if you go to Utah, in Utah, you can use it like money. You can buy it, purchase it, you can, do whatever. So this is like an option. Look at this. Cool, right? So look at that. Look, one gold backed dollar. Oh yeah, you don't see it here. Hold on. Look at this. All the way at the top. Look at the top of my head. One gold backed dollar. Okay, so one gold back, okay, one of those gold paper monies is worth $8. Crazy, right? That's increased a lot, okay? Because I forgot the last time I was on this website. It was not $8. No way. It was a lot less than that. But that goes to show you how much value the dollar's lost in such a short amount of time. And it's only going to increase. Again, when they send more money to Ukraine, to Israel, to whatever the hell they're doing over there, I don't even give a crap anymore. All they're doing is just making everything more and more and more expensive, okay? And they're squeezing you out. And the longer you wait to do something about it, the less the less ability you're going to be able to do anything about it. So, for example, the longer you wait to leave the country, well, it's going to come a time where you're not going to be able to leave the country. The longer you wait to buy gold and silver, well, you're not going to be able to afford gold and silver, okay? And so on and so forth. So, look, let me give you an example of like the price of gold, okay? So, an ounce of gold is at $4,000, okay? $4,000 for an ounce of gold. Okay, let's just go back 5 years. Okay, look again. What did I do? What did I do? Hold on a second. Can I do it here? I guess, yeah, this is not like a real chart. Never mind. But anyways, well, look, long story short, the price, look, in 2023 and a half, the price of gold, okay, just so you can see how crazy parabolic. Okay, look, let's just go back 30 years. Okay? And then look, you see it went up during the 2007-8 recession, and then it went back down, but it's settled, okay? So it was settled, all right, around the 1,000 mark, 2,000 mark, okay? It went up, okay? But look, again, 10 years ago, a silver coin, I'm sorry, a gold coin, 10 years ago, a gold coin like this was $1,000, okay? Fast forward to 2023, And this was already $2,000. Okay? And from basically 2024 going forward, all right? From 2023 to 2024, you know, around there, 2024, let's just say the beginning of 2024 till now, we went from $2,000 to $4,000. And if you trade stocks, if you're into that world and you see how crazy parabolic, you know, gold and silver have gone, it's insane. And it's just going to keep going. It's not, you know, we don't see any pullback in the near future. So, you know, what's that really? And again, this is right now if I were to ask you, you know, if I were to say to you, hey, you know, how much has your grocery bill, how much has, you know, what you spend at the grocery store, how much has that increased? You could probably use the same exact fucking chart as you guys can see there. All right, look at that. So again, remember, this is COVID. All right, look, you can see right there, 2020. You get to see it right there, 2020. All right, COVID. All right, and we went through all that crap, right? And then look at that. Again, in the last couple years, you know for a fact that everything has gone up in price that amount. So think about it, okay? With the example I gave you, all right, as to what this is for, all right, to hold your value. Because if you would have just held on to $2,000 cash, you know, $2,000 in cash, you know, it's only going to buy you $2,000 worth of crap today. And again, everything's gone up in price so much, really, you might as well just only have $1,000. So you've lost $1,000, all right? But if you would have bought gold or silver, okay, and it went up 4 times, 2 times, or whatever, well, then now you can cash out that gold and silver and you're going to be able to purchase, you know, it retains the wealth. It retains the whatever. So even now, let's say a silver coin, instead of being $25, it's $50, and people are saying, oh my God, this is too expensive. Is it too expensive? Again, you purchase this silver coin at $50 today, and within a year, at this rate, a year and a half, this is going to be worth $100. But if you keep $50 in your pocket, you already know what's going to happen. That $50, you know, it's only going to be worth, you know, 1 Big Mac meal and maybe gets half a tank of gasoline if you're lucky. All right. So, I mean, you know, things are really, so there are ways to protect yourself. You know, there are things that you can do out there. But again, a lot of it has to do with, you know, your own education. You got to educate yourself on, you know, what is money? What is currency? Why does gold exist? Why does silver exist? You know, so on and so forth. And a lot of people even say, you know, they'll tell you, you know, like, oh no, gold and silver are bad. These are relics of the past. No one uses gold and silver. Listen, every single thing electronic wise, okay, everything, whether it's a light bulb, whether it's a computer, whether it's a camera, whether it's this microphone, you know, whatever it is, has silver in it. Imagine if silver were actually at its real price. You wouldn't be able to afford anything. All right, period. Same thing with gold. Believe it or not, gold is still the best conductor when it comes to electronics, okay? And many other uses, okay? So gold and silver are still used, okay? You know, for practical uses, you know, like real uses, but the real value of gold and silver are because they are money. They are the real money. That's why when you have coins, you know, right now when you have, you know, pennies, well, not a penny, but when you got like a nickel, a dime, you know, whatever it is, every country's different. But like in the USA, all your coins are silver coins. Now, you know, all coins these days are made out of like nickel and lead or whatever the hell they put in there, but it's not real silver in it. But back in the day, they used to be made with silver. And you go to other countries, like in Mexico, some of the coins, they look like, you know, they have like a gold hue. So again, the coins look like gold and silver. Again, it's still, we know exactly, you know, deep down inside exactly what the real value is, what the real coins are. You know, not paper money, but physical, okay? Physical. And, but yeah, you know, so like right now we're just going, sorry, I'm like kind of losing my train of thought here. You know, I apologize. I had like a little brain fart there. But, you know, right now we're just going to be seeing even more and more of an increase in that. And again, like I said, there are certain states out there. So look, let's just go into it real quick because I know some of you guys are in the USA. So look, where to buy. All right, so let's just click on where to buy these. And no, you know, where are they accepted actually? That's what I want to find out. Is it here? How do I get involved? Become a distributor. I think. Well, I don't know. Yeah, sorry. Anyways, whatever. I'm trying to find to see where. Pay with goldbacks. I guess pay with goldbacks. So where can we pay with them? Oh, wow. No way. No freaking way. Look at that. Here, let me get my fat face out of the way. Hold on a second. Look at that. No way. Man, look how much things have changed. Here, let me get my fat face out of the way real quick. But look how much things have changed in the last, like, just a year alone or a couple of years. That look at the, back in the day, I mean, just a few years ago, the only place that you could use these things was like, you know, a couple places, you know, Florida, you know, Utah, you know, a few places here and there, you know, that are very anti-government, libertarian-ish. But now look at this. It seems like you can use them basically anywhere in the country. Seems like a lot of Americans are starting to figure it out. You know, everything that I was just explaining to you guys right now. Wow. This is very, how do I say this? What's the word I'm looking for? Encouraging. It is a very, very encouraging to see this. Look at that. Wow. So yeah, there you go. This is one way in which you can start your journey, okay, into you know, figuring out what the best option for you is. Now, again, guys, I want to preface everything, you know, that I've said in the show. You know, I want to back everything that I said on the show. None of this is financial advice, okay? Again, I'm barely making it on my own. I'm barely surviving, but you guys already know my full story. And if you don't know, I suggest you check out my other channel and check out my story. But you guys already know. Why have I been able to survive and thrive? Well, because again, it's not like you need a lot. As long as you have this knowledge and you're able to implement the knowledge, then you're good to go. This is why I've been able to really survive out here for so long. Okay? Remember, I only really started making money on my YouTube videos only a few years ago. How was I really able to survive throughout all these years? Not because I had gold or silver. No. It's just because I understood exactly how this system works. Now, again, I am not money greedy, money hungry. Again, if all I cared about was money, I would not even have a YouTube channel. I would just be trading. I would just be doing all kinds of things, just making money. You know, everybody has different things that they want out of life. But for me personally, you know, I just know enough and I practice, you know, again, these things enough in order to just make sure that I'm not going to be poor ever again. Poor to the point where I don't even know if I'm going to eat or pay my rent. Again, I don't got no worries about any of that no more, just because of how I've been able to, you know, set myself up and vice versa. You know what I mean? Like how to continuously, you know, make, you know, the money grow. And that's why even Mexicans, no matter how poor they are, you know what I mean, they can at least afford a coin. Like sometimes, like for a birthday gift, a Mexican will get silver. You know, they'll get things like this. They'll get gold. All right. And yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's just interesting, you know, to kind of just see, you know, it all play out, or, you know, and all, you know, kind of like, you know, come to a head. Because right now, again, you know, this, you know, the whole, sorry. Again, you know, this whole idea that the dollar is going to be around forever, you know, this is already, you know, this ship has sailed. Okay, most people around the world know these things are worthless. Most countries around the world are de-dollarizing. The presidents of the country, whether it's Trump or Biden or whoever, you know, they've attacked other countries like Russia or Venezuela or other countries by not allowing them to use the dollar. So think about it. You know, not only is the world de-dollarizing, you know, meaning the world is using these dollars less and less, but on top of that, the U.S. government is shooting itself in the foot, okay, by, again, putting sanctions and restricting other countries from using these dollars. So again, whether it's the U.S., okay, shooting themselves in the foot by not allowing these things to continue to circle around the world, and other countries around the world that are realizing, hey, we got to get some gold and silver and get rid of these pieces of paper. They're not worth jack shit anymore. You know, it's just going to keep increasing and increasing. So again, the U.S. is planning on, exchanging this. You know, the U.S. plans on replacing this dollar with a digital dollar, and I've already explained how they're going to do it. There's other channels out there, and there's other people out there that explain even more into detail how the Genius Act is going to work and what they're really planning on doing. But long story short, you know what I mean? That's the plan. They plan on keeping the dollar around forever. Now, will that plan work? We shall see. You know what I mean? Because again, at the end of the day, whether they back it by debt, whether they're backing it by a tether, by a stable coin or whatever it is, the reality is that the U.S. government can only back its currency with its military. But if the currency becomes so worthless that the same military, the same soldiers are not going to get paid, they don't want that money either, and there's no way to pay them, there's no way to enforce the dollar, world reserve currency, that's when it falls. And again, read up any history book, okay, on this subject, and you're going to see how this is how many empires fall. Many empires end up falling because of their fiat currency. That's it. There's no documented instance in human history in which a fiat currency has survived. Usually, but this is the end game for the empires, and we're there. And so right now, again, we're not only at the end game that we can all feel and see, we can taste it. We're living it. But again, the government has gone the extra step to try to replace this with something even more worthless. All right, so yeah, it's going to be interesting times, to say the least. So with that said, again, figure out how to purchase gold and silver, physical gold and silver. If you have a few extra bucks, go on ahead and try to learn how to invest. Just basics. I'm not telling you to go out there and, start trading and doing the trading circles and the this and the that. No, listen. You can just park your money, like I said, in the Dow Jones. You can just park your money and just look up some videos and figure it out, okay? But you can just park your money there. You can park your money even in Bitcoin. Again, Bitcoin is up and down. It's very, very volatile, all right? But let me see if I can give you a chart. 1 second. So you guys can see, Bitcoin as well. Okay. And then we'll leave it there so you guys just check that out. All right. So, okay, that's the price of Bitcoin there. Again, this is the daily, whatever. Let's just go back. Let's keep going back, okay? Let me see if how can I make this? Let's just do like the monthly. These are months. Okay, look at this. Okay, these are months. Okay, and each month, look at the price. Look at the price increase. Okay, so yeah, if you got Bitcoin and you're like, oh my God, I lost all this money. Yeah, it's probably because you bought at the top and then you needed to sell and you ended up selling down here. But if you buy down at the bottom and you just ride it all the way up, again, if you don't need the money, it's just your savings, you just park it. Even if you bought the top over here, okay, you just waited a few months and you're making money again. Okay? And this is only going to keep going up, just like everything else is going to keep going up. And again, this is not financial advice. All right, just you figure it out on your own what's best for you. But you guys, again, we already talked about this for over an hour. All right, and so you guys, you can figure it out as to what you can do in order to bet. Okay, you're betting against the debt. You're betting against everything going on in the USA right now. Okay, by me getting rid of these and purchasing things like silver or Bitcoin or whatever it is, I'm protecting myself against that. Okay, if you're buying things like Bitcoin or the stock market, you cannot just really just set it and forget it. I mean, you can. But you got to remember, once the bubble pops, the real bubble pops, where this thing is really worthless and everything just, the stock market, everything crashes, you better make sure that, you are selling, okay, right at the, when all the shit hits the fan, and you're not waiting and riding it all the way down, because then you're just going to be just as poor as if you didn't do anything at all. Okay, so this is a way to protect yourself. Okay, so this is why you got to this is something that, again, it's financial management. You're managing your own money. You are your own money manager. You got to figure out a way to manage your wealth. All right, and that means you got to keep an eye on your money. You got to keep an eye on your wealth. Okay, you got to the more you learn, the better you're going to be protected. Okay, Again, there's risk involved. There's risk involved in everything, okay? There's risk involved in holding dollars. There's risk involved in betting on the stock market or cryptocurrency. There's risk involved in holding too many of these coins. Remember, they're physical. At the end of the day, someone can just rob, steal the coin from my hand, steal the coin from me, all right? So that's the thing. But you got to figure out what's best for you. But, is all lost? Are you going to be, up shit's creek? No, not really. I mean, there are options for you out there. Now, obviously, the less value you have, well, the more of an uphill battle you got to traverse. But it doesn't mean you cannot dig yourself out of that hole. Okay? You can definitely do it. I've done it. I've done it multiple times. All right? And like I said, sure, my stack is always small and it grows, and then eventually I got to cash out or whatever. But hey, look at the life it's provided me. Those, especially those that know me personally, you guys know fully well, you know what I mean, how much my life has gotten better throughout the years just by knowing basics, and just, trusting myself and betting against the debt and betting against, everything that's going on right now. And, again, the best time to do it is when everybody's scared right now. Are people really that scared? Not really. If anything, people are starting to get greedy. So, but anyways, it's a story for another day. We can keep going, but I gotta get going. I got things to do. All right, it's already getting late, and let me see. Let me just read the chat real quick. Let me see if you guys have any questions or any comments or anything before I go. I see Jesse says in Arizona it's available, so going and getting some gold backs would be a good way to start. Yes, yeah. Because like the gold backs, just to give you a quick. So again, really the best way is always to get physical gold and silver. But why do I recommend these? Well, because what they've done, believe it or not, it says it right there. Look, gold backs are groundbreaking innovation in alternative currency. Okay? Using cutting edge technology, we've made 24 karat gold practical everyday use transactions. Anyway, so long story short, what they've done is that they made currency made out of pure gold. So 24 karat means 100% pure gold. Okay? So again, whether you're holding your gold in a little bar, whether you're holding it in a coin, whether you're holding it in jewelry, or this brand new thing, which is, again, it's just a dollar made out of gold. Okay? Or bills, dollar bills, or bills made out of gold. So let's just say that for whatever reason, the U.S. government says, hey, we're going to make those gold backs illegal and you can't have them and blah, 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 and you can't use them. Well, there's no problem. It's still 100% gold. You can literally melt them and you'll get the value back, 100% of the value, okay? Because they're pure gold, okay? So that's why, again, it doesn't matter what really happens. These are great because they're pure gold, okay? So this is a great way to start, and a very economical way to start, because again, what I have in my hands here is a silver coin, okay? But if you're going to buy a gold coin, a gold ounce, this is 1 ounce. If you're going to buy a gold ounce, it's going to be over $4,000. Not everybody has $4,000. If you would have bought this a few years ago, the gold coin, yeah, you could have bought it for $1,000 or $2,000. But now it's $4,000. It's going to only keep getting more expensive. So if you only got a few bucks, usually what people recommend is silver, okay? Because back in the day, not that long ago, I used to be able to get silver coins for 10, 15, well, no, not 10. I mean, 10 was a long time ago, but $15, Eventually it started going up in price, 15, 18, 20, 22, 25, and I was still buying them all the way through. But then eventually, I had some economic troubles. I couldn't buy anymore, and I just held on to what I had. They just increased in value. Obviously I had to cash some out throughout the years and throughout the time, but right now, as I put money into savings, yes, I would still buy silver coins. Okay, if I had the gold backs available here in Mexico, I would buy them. I don't need to here because there's many ways to buy gold. But again, at this point, I prefer silver. So gold is the money of kings. Silver is the money of the common man. Okay, this goes back centuries. Okay, so I love silver. Also, gold is increasing in price very, has been going in price, been increasing in price parabolically. But silver is still lagging behind. Silver should be a lot more expensive than what it is right now. Same as gold, but especially silver. Silver is the most undervalued commodity, undervalued thing on the planet. If silver would be going up in price with inflation, just like everything else, a silver coin would also be like around $4,000. In fact, I'll tell you exactly how much it would be worth. If silver coin was keeping up with inflation, it would be here. My head is covering it. It's right here in the corner. It says silver to dollar ratio right there, $1,500. Okay. Is that the right one or? No, okay, whatever. Okay, look. Right above my head. Okay? So look right above my head. Okay? Right there, right above my head. Okay? Did I have it right or no? No, hold on. Oh, no, yeah, hold on a second. Hold on. I got this, 1 second. There we go. Okay, so look, check out the prices right there, okay? So look, right there you can see the price, okay? So what is paper to silver, paper to gold? We'll go over that in a second, but just real quick, okay? So right now, okay, a silver coin is around $50, okay? But all the way at the top, okay, right here, okay, where it says dollar to silver ratio now. Dollar to silver ratio now. Okay? $1,228. So you can purchase this silver coin for $50, but according to inflation, meaning, remember, everything is priced the same. And it's, what I'm saying? Everything has gone up in price, right? But anyways, if this would be going up, if silver would be going up with inflation, it should not be it should not be $50. It should be $1,228. Wow, it went up, right? Okay, did it go up right now? Anyways, $1,028. Okay, so this is over $1,000. Okay, so you can purchase this for $50 right now, but it's really worth $1,228. Okay, all right, and let's go down to gold. All right, real quick, so you guys can see gold. So same thing with gold. Gold right now goes for $4,000 an ounce. Okay, $4,000 for a silver ounce. Okay, but the real price, again, you see it there, dollar to gold ratio now should be $9,700. So almost $10,000. So even though gold is at $4,000, it really should be worth $10,000. Even though these coins of silver are only worth $50 to purchase, they're really worth $1,228. Now, what causes that? Why is it that silver is only $50 and it's not actually $1,228 like it says there? Why is it that gold is only $4,000 and it's not $10,000 like it says there? Oh, great question. All right, so right there, you see it, right below it. Okay, right above my head there. Okay, you see paper to silver ratio now, or paper to gold ratio now. So what that means is that this is, by the way, this is why I tell you to buy physical gold and silver, okay? Because what does it mean? Because for every single physical gold, okay, physical silver ounce in existence, there exist 360 paper versions of it. What does that mean? Okay, real quick. So again, let's just go back to, hold on a second. Wait, 1 second, hold on. Because I don't want to lose my thing. Come on. Where was I? Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay, so real quick, just the Dow Jones, okay, so you can understand, okay? So how does the stock market work, okay? Remember, when you're buying shares in Apple, when you're buying shares in Facebook, when you're buying shares in whatever the hell you're buying, all right? You're buying paper contracts. So let's say you buy 1 share of Apple, that means you're just getting a piece of paper. You know, you're just buying, you know, you're just getting a piece of paper, okay? 1 share, okay? 1 share is 1 piece of paper, okay, of Apple, okay? But when it comes to silver, remember, you can trade silver on the stock market. So, and in the stock market's what gives everything value, right? It's all manipulated. So anyway, so this is how they manipulate it. So for every single silver ounce in existence, okay, there are paper derivatives, paper versions of it. So again, right now, there's not enough physical silver in the world to trade. Also, it's physical. So right now, if I'm going to be trading on the digital stock market, how can I move this around? I can't. So what do? Is that they copy this. They make digital versions of this. And really, it's supposed to be 1 to 1. So meaning for every physical coin, there should be a digital version, 1 to 1. But that's not what they've done. For every physical, okay, for every physical one, they printed so many IOUs, okay, that now for every single physical coin of silver, there's 380 something fake coins out there. So when you're trading on the stock market, you're trading these fake coins, these fake paper contracts. So if the stock market were to crash, if the stock market were to not exist anymore, well, then guess what? These paper contracts, they're gone. They don't exist anymore. By the way, just a market crash, I don't want to get too detailed. I'm already running late. But long story short, when those paper derivatives are gone, meaning that when the stock market crashes and everybody's trying to cash out that money and get that money out of there, all right, there's not enough money. There's not enough value to give to the people. And that's where everything just disappears. Anyways, going back to this, okay? So there are 360 paper contracts for each physical silver coin. But if you were to go on ahead and if you take away all of those paper contracts and you just go back to how it's supposed to be, 1 to 1, well, then that's where you get the price of each coin, okay? Each coin is worth $1,228. But why is it only worth $50? Because, again, there are so many fake paper versions of this that don't exist that are being traded, okay, that's what brings the value down. So how do they keep the price of gold and silver down? Very easy. They just print more paper versions, paper contracts of gold and silver. And the more they print, well, then the lower the price of this goes. That's how they manipulate it. But right now we're living through unprecedented times. They cannot print enough paper, gold, and silver. And the gold and physical gold and silver are actually being traded, over the counter markets all over the world. Like I said, even here, I can purchase it at the store, at the bank. And that is what's taking, the manipulation, that's what's really exacerbating the price going up parabolic. But long story short, guys, you can just go here, usdebtclock.org. I'll put it in the chat and you guys can see all these stats for yourself on your own time. And there's a bunch of really cool stats and a bunch of really cool stuff there you guys can check out on your own. But yeah, there's a lot going on that we don't know about. All right. So anyways, hopefully that helps answer your question. I don't even know what I was answering there. So that's it. I think that's it, guys. So all right, guys. All right, that's it. Okay, we're going to wrap it up. So, guys, you already know the deal. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's show. I hope it was educational at the very least. Hopefully you learned something new. And if you did, hopefully you can start protecting yourself and start hedging your bets and start figuring out the best way to protect your wealth, increase your wealth, all right? And, again, when the shit really hits the fan, you'll be fine. Again, the more you learn about all this, the more you're going to be fine. That's why I am not worried about the world economic crash or the dollar crash or the whatever the fuck happens. You think I give a shit? I don't. Okay, I've hedged my bets. If anything, I'm waiting. I'm here waiting. I just want my lottery ticket to finally, come through. And it will. It always does. It always does. All right? So for us to think that, oh, this is the first time in history it's not going to happen. Yeah, no, sorry. Sorry to break it to you. All right? It's actually going to happen. All right? And now more than ever, now that we are in a super global world and we have other powers out there like China and Russia and Latin America and all these, everybody is like, hey, we're done. We're tired of the fucking dollar, man. We're done. We're done. And why is the whole world done with the dollar? Because the U.S., okay, the country, the United States government has, used this as a weapon. They've weaponized the dollars. And so this is why in Mexico, for example, okay, $1 US gets me 20 pesos. Okay? Because again, the U.S. Weaponizes the dollar all around the world, okay, to cause inflation or deflation in all countries around the world. So all countries around the world are like, hey, we're done. We don't want this. We don't want the people in charge of this shit to control the monetary system of our own country. We want to go back to a gold and silver, okay, where this is what determines, okay, the price of our currency. Not some, not some people out there, all right? I don't want to, not some lizard people, all right? But anyways, all right, guys, we're going to wrap this bad boy up. I really hope you guys enjoyed the show. It was a lot more fun than I thought it would be. Sometimes these subjects can be a little boring, but hey, it is what it is. And again, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Again, thank you so much, Jesse, for the $10 super chat earlier. I know you don't want that dirty fiat anymore, and you were just giving it away to me, but I appreciate you because I can use that dirty fiat to buy more tacos. So thank you very much. Everything is appreciated. But anyways, guys, you already know, with all that being said, if you like this kind of content, don't forget to please like, please subscribe, please share, please the bell icon. But more importantly than anything else, please continue to stay awesome. I'll see you guys on the next one. You already know every single Thursday we go live here, at least through the end of the year. We're going to see if we're going to change that schedule up for next year. We're going to see if we're going to definitely finally change some things up around here next year and go off from there. And that's it. I'll see you guys on the other channel. On the other channel, I'll see you guys on Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. You already know. All right? I love you guys. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next one, all right? Have a great weekend. Love you, and I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.
What do you do with the Bitcoin besides it just gather value?
Real estate developers in New York City, they're not buying the real estate because they want to live in it.
But most of the people who are buying assets at some point want to sell the assets at a profit.
People that use fiat currency as a store of value, we call them poor. We call them poor. People that use fiat currency, we call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. There's a name for them. We call them poor. We call them poor. Okay?
Right? The point is, if you have the superior asset, it's going up forever, Laura. Forever.
Right, but we can all look Bitcoin sort of as
forever, Laura.
People that use fiat currency as a store of value, we call them poor. We call them poor. People that use fiat currency, we call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. There's a name for them. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call
to another live stream. Back to another live stream. Back
100 times?
to another live stream.
200 times? 500 times?
Who is Jose Arteaga?
Jose Arteaga is a YouTube content creator with several channels focusing on different themes.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Thing sucks.
His main channels include travel vlogs and lifestyle content. On his travel channel, Jose Arteaga Travels.
You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers.
Additionally, he runs a cooking channel and engages in other personal projects that highlight his diverse interests and expertise. Projects and expertise. Projects and expertise. Projects, project, projects, project, 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 project.